We are back for our latest edition of GreenFleet Talks. My name's Kate Armitage. I'm your host for our discussion today. And I'm joined by Michael Braybook, who's Managing Director at Zaptec UK, one of the country's leading AC charging hardware providers. Hello, Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me this morning. Appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I think it's the first time that we've spoken, so always nice to welcome a newbie to GreenFleet Talks.
I'm really looking forward to it. We've had some good interactions with GreenFleet all throughout the year, so hopefully I won't let the side down today, and I'll do a good podcast.
I think you will. Right, so Zaptec have been very busy. And you've been very busy on social media. Some of our viewers will have seen this because it has been trending, but you're not to be confused with Zaptec, who have launched a home petrol pump to rival your EV charging charge point. Correct?
This is correct. And if you haven't seen the videos or the links, if you can check onto YouTube, you can find them and you can see the bigger picture. But essentially we've looked at the whole electrification side of things and approached it from a fossil fuel viewpoint, and just to look at some of the challenges and some of the kind of the jokes you kind of get from comparing the two. But essentially we have a Norwegian gentleman who is launching a company similar to Zaptec, but it's called Zaptec, and he's trying to get diesel and petrol back in, and he'll install a pump in your house for 200,000 euros, I think it is, and it's quite funny. And when we've put these videos out, we've actually done it real time, so you've got members of the public thinking, "Oh my God, is that really happening?" Or we recently had him over in the UK. We were at an event, but the plan was they went out into central London with the petrol pump and started explaining to people this is the future, and it's just a bit of fun really, but it kind of highlights the main messages.
It does. It highlights the absolute ease and convenience of being able to refuel your vehicle at home, and you don't have to spend £200,000. What's the name of your character who's setting up the business?
Well, it's called Mr. Zaptec.
Mr. Zaptec. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to prove Mr. Zaptec wrong, because batteries are not just for toys today.
That's his favourite.
That's his top insult. Okay, now let's get back to the business in hand, of course, which is electrification of transport. And if you are a fleet manager and you are planning to move into electric vehicles, what are the kind of top 2 or 3 things that a fleet manager should consider before they embark on that workplace charging infrastructure project?
Good question. I think, initially you need to define, the electrification timeline. When do you need this put in place? There are some challenges you'll have around your location, local grid, getting that information through. So if you know what you're working to, you can kind of align those two. I'd also think I'd look at the mix of, if you're looking at depot versus home, like where do you need these chargers to actually be? You see that there's not so much of a need to actually go to depots to charge, and it's a lot more convenient, a lot more streamlined if you have it at home, and we can set that up with billing and all sorts of things, so it's not actually a challenge. And also you probably need to look at what's your mix of AC versus DC. I'd probably say that if you are charging overnight, you're covered for the whole day, and that's perfect. If you need a fast charge top up during the day, that's really if you're traveling the length and breadth of the country. And you've also got to think about, what's it going to look like in 3 to 10 years time, because batteries are getting bigger and stronger and lasting longer. If I think about myself, my car does around 400 miles on a full charge. And, some of the biggest trips I used to have to do was say maybe up to from London to the Birmingham NEC or something like that. I can do that there and back on a single charge and still have plenty left over for the rest of the week. So get that into mind. You maybe don't think that the AC DC is a big question, but it may mean that you're more suited to a grazing model than putting that large investment into DC.
Yeah, great considerations, and I think it was something that Zapmap observed on the usage on their network, that with the longer range vehicles, there's less need to use that public charging infrastructure, which of course is a saving for fleets. Okay, so as I said at the beginning, you are one of the leading providers of AC charging hardware in the UK. You recently launched in great innovative style your first V2G ready charger. I mean, this has been the year for V2G. It feels like there's a lot of things happening, which is very exciting. Tell us about your product and how it can benefit fleets.
Yeah, so V2G really is something to get excited about, and although we've been talking about it for quite a while, you're right. This is the year where it's really started to take shape. In the UK, we launched the Go 2 product in September, and this is essentially is a charger that has other features as well. But for a fleet kind of perspective, it's got mid-metering, which is potentially something that's going to come in very quickly into the UK, and this will be how we'll be able to find out exactly how much energy is being used, which is very, very important for fleet reconciliation when it comes to the amount of expenses you get each month. But the V2G ready components are there for the ever evolving OEM sector. And we launched our actual first V2G product earlier in the UK using our Pro charger, which is normally reserved for commercial businesses, and this was with BYD and Octopus. And off the back of that, what they're offering was a free charge tariff, which essentially means once you're plugging in for a certain amount of time and you can get the V2G going back and forth, they won't charge you for any energy you're actually using. So I suppose if I were to simplify it a little bit, the V2G will be a standard across all markets in the future. It operates as a normal charge. There's no hidden software. There's nothing special about it. But what it does allow to do is that parked vehicles, when they're not moving around, they're plugged in, energy companies can take that energy that we've put into the battery and bring it back into the grid. And this could be at peak times when we're not using it, so it stops the higher bills that we kind of come across. It also gives that flexibility, but also there is a split between home use for this and commercial use. And I'm reminded that quite often lots of van drivers will finish their work by 3 or 4 o'clock in the day, and they'll be back at depot or they'll be back at home. And this is a prime time to be ready for the sort of 6-7 o'clock deluge the grid gets. Everyone kind of cooking their dinners and washing their clothes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's got real significance. And I think how this will develop over the next couple of years will be a mixture between companies receiving credits to get energy back in a different way, or cheaper bills, or in some cases having zero bills for the entirety of their use. So there's lots of applications for it.
And that's the dream, isn't it? We may not be there today, but that's the goal. That's the direction of travel. And I think, it is still innovative. It is still embryonic. As you said, your proposition has launched with BYD and Octopus. So that's one energy company and one auto OEM. But all of the auto OEMs are working on this, aren't they? So as soon as we get to a position where the majority of the new vehicles, battery electric vehicles that are coming onto the road are V2G ready, then talk to your energy company, talk to your charge point supplier, and make sure that you're able to pull this whole ecosystem together.
Yeah, I think it really just sits with a lot of the OEMs gearing up for this, and also with the ever evolving battery technology that's happening. It's just getting stronger and stronger. There isn't a industry standard to do this, and that's what we're kind of like, it will happen eventually. But it's just early days, and I'm kind of reminded of the if you're old enough to remember the first phones being like suitcases and things like that, that's kind of feels a little bit where we are. But the rate of change and the rate of evolution of this is much quicker than what we had to suffer with that. I think within the next 5 to 6 years, we'll see this being kind of omnipresent across the charging sector.
Yeah, and we need it to be. We've got to be much smarter about how we manage our energy and how we utilize the grid, which is becoming congested. So really exciting, and I think for fleets who are already well established with their EV fleet, get on board with a trial, give it a go, do a couple of vehicles, understand how it works, understand how it doesn't work, and feedback and start talking about it, because we've got to normalize this, and it's not going to be easy. It's a big challenge.
Yeah, I think really it's just a case of like shifting charging away from peak tariffs. Then once you've done that and you then become a resource, you're actually putting energy back into the grid. You then become a supplier yourself. So the tables are completely turned.
Absolutely.
And that's unique, and it's something that we probably never thought would be possible 10 years ago.
Really exciting. And from a fleet manager perspective, really getting to kind of control the supply of the fuel for your vehicle is quite an exciting opportunity. One last topic. What are your thoughts on the government's recent depot charging scheme, and what more would you like to see to help fleets?
I think it was a really positive kind of signal that they recognise the need for commercial fleets, and and how this transition needs to be supported. The biggest thing for this is the upfront infrastructure cost, but once it's in, it's something that is completely scalable. We often see with ARM products that you can install the backplates and the cabling and have that done with the grants, but in 4, 5, 6 years time, if you need more chargers, you can then just clip them in, and there's no big reoccurring cost. And I think it's that way of thinking is really, really smart, because you will be looking at transitioning your fleets over the next couple of years. And you want to be prepared for that without minimizing the cost. But also, linking back to what we just talked about with the tariffs and V2G and other sorts of things, this is also another reason why this becomes a cost saving for the fleet. That even when we're 3 or 4 years away from complete transition away from ICE, you'll be able to see some real rewards in the short term. And that's the best way, I think, to introduce any kind of new way of working. So I'm happy that they kicked it off. I'd like to see some more of it. I'd like to see some better understanding of how this difference between the charging hubs versus the premium depots, and also I think the ability to get this into people's homes as well, where it's applicable, is really, really good, because you're not just dealing with the energy situation, you're also dealing with congestion on the roads and lots of things, which all part and parcel to the overall view.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree, Michael, and I am optimistic that we haven't discussed the budget, but some money has been made available, and it's a positive sign that there will be more good things to come in terms of government support. So, well, thank you very much for your insight today, Michael. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
I really, really enjoyed it, and thanks so much for inviting me on. I'm here, but if you need any other questions.
Great, thank you. And of course, thank you to Zaptec for joining GreenFleet Talks, and thank you for watching. Please tune in to GF Television again soon.